With threats to our nation waiting around every corner, adaptability is more important than ever. When conditions change without notice, quick strategic thinking is crucial. And with obstacles consistently impending, determination is essential in overcoming them. It's this willingness, decisiveness, and resilience that sets Marines apart. With our fighting spirit, we don't just fight battles, we win them. Marines are the constant our nation counts on to fight the unknown. And through adaptable problem solving, we do just that. Learn more at marines.com.
Judy was boring.
Hello.
Then Judy discovered ChumbaCasino.com.
It's my little escape.
Now Judy's the life of the party.
Oh, baby, mama's bringing home the bacon.
Whoa, take it easy, Judy. The Chumba life is for everybody. So go to ChumbaCasino.com and play over 100 casino-style games. Join today and play for free for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. ChumbaCasino.com. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus terms and conditions apply. See website for details. Judy was boring.
Hello.
Then Judy discovered ChumbaCasino.com.
It's my little escape.
Now Judy's the life of the party.
Oh, baby, mama's bringing home the bacon.
Whoa, take it easy, Judy. The Chumba life is for everybody. So go to ChumbaCasino.com and play over 100 casino-style games. Join today and play for free for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. ChumbaCasino.com. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
Okay, round two. Name something that's not boring.
A laundry? Ooh, a book club. Computer solitaire, huh?
Ah, sorry, we were looking for Chumba Casino. That's right, ChumbaCasino.com has over 100 casino-style games. Join today and play for free for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. ChumbaCasino.com. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
Hey there, Duke fans. Time for episode number 49 of DBR Bites, the Duke Basketball Roundup here. I am Jason Evans. I am joined by Donald Wine, my good friend. It is Memorial Day, Donald. Are you cooking out, doing anything special, anything fun?
I didn't cook out. I cooked in. I had some hot dogs, which is the traditional kickoff of the unofficial start of summer. But Jason, it's funny story. I know we're going to talk about this in a little while, but I want to regale you of a quick story that I had about a week ago watching Duke softball. And I was watching the Duke softball game. They were playing South Carolina, and they were killing them. It was 3-0 in the bottom of the sixth, I want to say. And there was 2 outs. And you'll tend to like work out by jogging in place. And if I can't get to a gym, I'll just jog in place while watching TV. I don't have a treadmill or anything like that. So I just kind of run in place, maybe run around my apartment a little bit. So I was running and I was doing a nice little swift little jog where it would have been like a 10-minute mile type of thing. And I said, Jason, I said, look, this next batter's up. There's 2 outs. And then we're going to go to the, next inning. I'm going to sprint. I'm going to do a whole sprint for this at bat until we get the 3rd out. 20 minutes later, Jason had never got the 3rd out because they rattled off 5 runs in a row and had a mercy rule to end the game. So it goes to show you, if you watch Duke softball, you will get in shape, which is great for me, but also very, very tiring when you don't expect them to rattle off 5 runs in a row, which I thought was pretty cool.
All right, so to be clear, did you run the entire 20 minutes?
So I sprinted until I got tired, and then I slowed down to a jog. So I didn't sprint until they got once like 3 or 4 batters went through, I was like, I can't do this much longer. So I just kind of rotated to a sprint. And then finally, I think I ended my workout once the game was over.
Very nice. By the way, Deep Tease, we will be talking about the success in the past few days of the Duke baseball and Duke softball teams. They are both still playing. We're about to enter June, and both these teams are still on the field, posting some really impressive results. We're going to get to that in a minute. We're going to start with this little item, which is Duke has announced another detail, some more information about our schedule, and it's a pretty cool one. Look, we spoke about this a little bit back when it was first, sort of being hinted at. Duke is playing the Kansas Jayhawks in Las Vegas. But to me, the really cool thing is the stuff that was not necessarily announced, which is that Duke and Kansas have agreed to play a home and home series. I am so excited about this. Now, what they'll do is they're going to play this year in Vegas, next year in the Champions Classic. By the way, they're playing in Vegas on the Tuesday of Thanksgiving week. I know, Donald, you and I are both going to try and get there for that game. It presents some real challenges for me as an employee of a 24-hour news network, because it's not necessarily like most people get Thanksgiving off. It's not easy to get Thanksgiving off at a company where Thanksgiving is just another day of the week.
in an election year where things could still be going on at that point. So, yeah,
dude, don't even say that, please, God, no.
Yeah. Well, Jason, I will note on this, Matt Norlander from CBS is the one who's kind of hinting at this. He said that nothing has been agreed to yet, but that as something I actually brought up on the show about a month and a half ago, this is something that's been in talks for quite a while. And I know my connections in Kansas tipped me off that this was coming. So it's clear that Kansas wants this. It's clear that Duke wants this. So it's bound to happen at some point. And yeah, you're right. This is a big deal for not just the schedule, but really, I think it's a big deal for college basketball, right? Like, having Duke and Kansas play every single year in some high profile game, whether it's in Cameron, in Phog Allen, in Vegas, or wherever the Champions Classic is played, I think is a really big deal.
Yeah. So to finish the thought, the idea is this year in Vegas, Tuesday before Thanksgiving, next year in the Champions Classic, which will be at a neutral site. I want to say it's MSG. I'm not sure if
they haven't announced it yet, but I think MSG is the next, is back in the rotation.
Right, exactly.
Next year.
And then the following 2 years, in 26 and 27, they would alternate. They would play a home and home, not clear whether it be at Cameron or at Phog Allen first, and then vice versa. Donald, I haven't prepared you for this, but my question for you is this. Any arena in the country, Duke's going to go on the road. What is the one that you're like, man, that's the one I have to, because by the way, we're playing in Tucson, playing Arizona this year, which could be high up on people's lists. What is the one for you? Because I'm going to spoil it and say right now, I think Kansas, Phog Allen, that crowd, I think that is my top pick of any arena in the country to see Duke go play.
Of the ones that I haven't already been to?
No, just in general.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Just like, again, the ones that I haven't been to, Phog Allen has always been that bucket list one to go. And not necessarily to see Duke play, but just to take it all in, just kind of like a lot of people like to come to Cameron for games to take it all in. I would love to do that. I would love to do this game. I already know some of my friends on the Kansas side, and I have already talked about how do we get tickets for both years should this be finalized. But I'm really looking for it. Phog Allen is always, some people consider it number 2 next to Cameron as far as places that you need to go in college basketball. There's also places like the Palestra, Poly Pavilion, those sort of places.
So here's so those are absolutely legendary arenas, but in terms of like the crowd and the atmosphere and the opponent and everything, like what, you're going to go play in the Palestra against Temple? I mean, it's just not going to be the same as playing in Phog Allen against Kansas and hearing that crowd chant Rock Chalk Kansas KU.
I think the beauty is in the eye of the beholder, right? Like, some people may say, yes, that makes a lot of sense to go to Phog Allen for all of those things combined. But again, Kansas and Duke are not the only teams in college basketball that have good atmospheres, right? So we have the best ones, but we don't have the only ones. And I think the great thing is, if you go to a Big 5 game in the Palestra, that's something that I'd love to do. That I'd love to take in that. And it'd be a different experience for what I'm trying to take in. But again, there's a lot of different places that I'd love to go. But I will say that Phog Allen has been at the top of the list, and hopefully that list will be shrunk by one in the next couple of years.
One thing I will mention, because I have been to Lawrence, I've been to the campus of KU. I did not see a basketball game, which may seem insane, but I was there on business. There was a story we were doing for CNN, and I had to go. And something struck me on the drive from, I think pretty sure we flew into Kansas City. I forget exactly. Maybe, I don't know. Wherever we flew into, we had about an hour and a half drive.
Probably Kansas City. Yeah,
we had about an hour and a half drive, I think it was, to get into Lawrence. Donald, I've never driven land that flat in my lifetime.
Hey, I've driven across Texas. I'll tell you, you have not seen flat. But I will say this, Jason.
It was spooky, man.
If this thing goes down, here's what I propose. You recall that this is a few years ago at this point, there was a 30 for 30 on the rules of basketball and how Kansas was trying to buy
Yeah,
the original rules of basketball, and that they were thwarted in their attempts, at least initially, by David Rubenstein because he wanted to buy it for Duke. I think we should have the rules of basketball cup. The winner of those games every year, they get to take the rules of basketball home with them for another year. I think that's fair, right? Like it could go
that's
back and
amazing.
forth, or it can live in the Hall of Honor for as long as we keep beating them. Like that's I'm fine with either one of those options. If it goes to Lawrence, we have to figure out a way to get it back. But I think that would be a nice little, they have all these different trophies for different rivalries. And it's not that like Kansas and Duke is like a fierce rivalry, but it's definitely one out of mutual respect. And also the fact that they're two blue bloods that have fought it, for, big time games in the past. I feel like the rules of basketball is a great way to honor that rivalry and make it in the form of they present the rules of basketball and the winning team takes it home with them.
I think that's an incredible idea. I think Kansas will never go for it.
No, they probably won't. They paid a lot of money for it. I think it was like $4.5 million. I understand.
Yeah. All right, so let's move on to our next topic, which is jerseys. The Blue Devils have unveiled the jerseys of the freshmen, of the new, not just the freshmen, but the new players who are coming in. And there's some unusual numbers out there, Donald. Con Knippel is going to be number 7. Darren Harris, number 8. Kaman Malawach, number 9. What are these numbers doing, my friend? I'm a little confused.
Yeah. So first off, let's go back to before this past season. There was a long-standing rule that the NCAA had that said that player numbers had to end in numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 0. The reason why, and they couldn't go higher than 55. The reason why is because they figured that referees were stupid. And when they needed to make a foul call and signal, hey, number 33 on, grab, number 12, they could only signal with their hands, and they only have 2 hands. So they had to make where the signal could be done with either 1 or 2 hands. And that was always a dumb, archaic rule. Obviously, in the NBA, you have jersey numbers ending in 6, 7, 8, and 9, and even going up to 99. You've had guys wearing those type of numbers. And even in college, going back to the 50s, you think about Bill Russell when he played at the University of San Francisco, he wore his beloved number 6 there. So it's not a thing that's like, college has never had this. But eventually college got rid of it. And so last year, you started to see jersey numbers ending in 6, 7, 8, or 9 for the first time. That was not something that anybody on Duke took advantage of until this year. Jason, as you mentioned, Con Knippel is going to be wearing number 7, Malik Brown number 6, Darren Harris number 8, Kaman Malawach is wearing number 9, and Mason Gillis, who was number 0. He was number 0 at Purdue. He is wearing number 18 at Duke. So I think it's interesting because it's going to be something to get used to. But I also think, Jason, it ends the whole thing about players eventually taking retired numbers. Because as you remember, we've had a couple instances over the last couple of years where guys have pulled some retired numbers down from the rafters to wear for 1 year, 2 years, what have you, because of the fact that they were running short on numbers that were available to them.
Right.
Now the numbers are endless, and with obvious exceptions, right? We don't, you're probably not going to see number 69 in college. It's probably not going to allow that. But there's going to be more numbers available, which means that those practices will end. But Jason, I did want to point another number out, right? Okay, Cooper Flag number 2, my favorite number. Got it in the closet so I can wear my Cooper Flag jersey wherever I go. Isaiah Evans will take number 3, and Jason, Sion James will wear number 14. James 14 is back. Last time there was a James that wore number 14, the first name was Nate. So let's hope to see on James have the same type of badass success as Nate.
I got one more number note for you. Kaman Malawach has picked number 9.
Mm-hmm.
Number 9 is the number that Luol Deng wore throughout his entire NBA career. I think there's no coincidence that the guy who discovered Kaman Malawach, who has been his mentor, that Kaman is now coming to Duke and wearing the NBA number of Luol Deng. I love that.
And I think also there's something to say. I think Con Knippel's number 7. I think, remember, he comes from a long line of family members who have played basketball, and I think all of them wore 7 or some numbers that added up to 7 because it's kind of a family number. And I think also in this, right, a lot of people are like, okay, you don't want to be number 14 because the previous person who was really good was 14, right? Or they may not want to wear number 3 or number 2. Especially like Isaiah Evans taking number 3 after Jeremy Roach had her for 4 years. That's a lot to live up to. But these guys who are taking these numbers for the first time can craft their own legacies out of it. We're always going to remember who the first number 6 was, who the first number 7 was. And at a certain point, if they do well enough, right? Like if someone takes number 8 after Darren Harris has a legendary career at Duke, people are going to say they took Darren Harris's number. And that's what these guys probably have in the back of their mind as well when they're selecting their numbers. There's a lot of thought process that goes into it. But at the end of the day, some of them want to craft their own legacies. And I think that is admirable. And sometimes you feel that in the numbers that they choose.
Okay, we're going to move on to our next topic. We mentioned, this is a DBR Bites episode. We're taking bites of a whole bunch of different things.
Yep. Lots of different hors d'oeuvres.
Yeah. So. Well, in addition to the hot dogs and hamburgers coming here on Memorial Day. Donald, the next topic is baseball and softball. We mentioned this at the top when you were telling your little story. Both the baseball and softball teams from the Blue Devils have made it to the World Series at various stages of it and such like that. Give me an update. Tell me what's going on with both these teams. Duke showing themselves to be one of the elite schools in the country at hitting, fielding, and pitching the small spherical ball.
Look, first off, with both of these teams, these are not teams that have been slouches or like have come on lately. These have been teams that have been very good their entire season. Both of them have been ranked in the top 10. I believe softball at one point was ranked number 1 in the country. Baseball, I think, number 2 or 3 in the country. So these guys, both these teams have been doing very well. Let's start with softball, Jason, because softball just made the college softball World Series for the very first time in their history. And mind you, they have only been around for 7 seasons. In that time, they have won a regular season ACC title, 2 ACC tournament titles, including this year, and have been to the Super Regional 3 times. The Super Regional is that region right before you get to the College World Series. And so completely remarkable by them. They actually had a lot of controversy, not them, but like there's a lot of controversy around where Duke softball was seated in the tournament, because I thought they were good enough to earn one of the top 5 or 6 seeds in the tournament, but they weren't. They were placed number 10, which means they had to travel to Missouri for that Super Regional. They defeated Missouri in 3 games. And again, they were doing super, super well. Super, super proud of them. Again, this is great. Now I have more times to work out and watch them dominate, because they haven't scored when I work out while watching them play. So just keep that in mind, ladies and gentlemen, as I get into shape for the summer. Now, let's move to baseball, because baseball is a little bit, they're like a week or 2 behind softball as far as their scheduling is concerned. But Duke yesterday, or over the weekend, I should say, won the ACC tournament for the second time ever, second time in 4 years that they've done that. They last won it in 2021. Again, they were a team that were in the works to host a regional, but they end up as a 2 seed. They will be traveling to Oklahoma to take in the Oklahoma region. They will take on UConn in their first game. Also, Oklahoma and Oral Roberts are in their little pod. If they win that, they earn the right to go to the Super Regional. And then after that, they could go to the College World Series. This is something where I'm pretty sure it's been a very long time, if ever, that they have made the College World Series and made it to Omaha in baseball. But they have been stellar all year. I don't think if you noticed, Jason, but like they started out like 13-1 on the season, and they were beating teams at the top of the polls, Virginia and FSU, those type of teams that were killing it. The ACC, by the way, got 8 teams in the tournament, and I believe Duke faced and beat all of them. So this is not a slouch team, and I'm really looking forward to watching them play, and hopefully they can make it to the College World Series as well.
I am bummed that my schedule just has not allowed me to spend much time watching the baseball and softball teams. I've been able to catch a few games here and there. Yeah, both those teams are doing some really impressive things. Duke athletics in general, you just feel like it has stepped up. That virtually every program that we have is playing just a little bit better than they did in past years, and that's a very, very impressive and very important thing. And the baseball and softball teams are getting all the headlines right now, and they deserve every one of them.
Yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned that, because again, as you mentioned, like there's a lot of teams that have done well. I know the ACC, the women's track and field team won the ACC championships the other week, and so again, we have a lot of different teams. Women's golf's always good. Men's golf's always good. Men's and women's lacrosse, men's and women's soccer, men's and women's basketball, football. Like we have a bunch of teams that field hockey, fencing, swimming and diving had like national champions, just recently. So It's incredible to figure out. And when we talk about the NIL conversation that we had the other day, like
exactly
how hard that is of a matrix for Duke to figure out, but somehow they're doing a good job at it. And hopefully, again, everyone is getting all the NIL money that they can possibly imagine. Each team is breeding success, and I think it's great that they're all like competitive, but also supporting each other. And the whole athletic department rises as a whole because of all these different teams. So I'm really, really happy to hear that all these teams are doing so well, and we're looking forward to watching, of course, softball and baseball in the postseason.
Exactly. All right, we're going to take a quick break. When the bites continue, Dukies in the NBA. Dukies playing for an NBA title. We're going to have a little bit on that in just a moment.
Hey guys, it is Ryan. I'm not sure if you know this about me, but I'm a bit of a fun fanatic when I can. I like to work, but I like fun too. It's a thing. And now the truth is out there. I can tell you about my favorite place to have fun. Chumba Casino. They have hundreds of social casino style games to choose from with new games released each week. You can play for free anytime, anywhere. And each day brings a new chance to collect daily bonuses. So join me in the fun. Sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
Step into the world of power, loyalty, and luck.
I'm gonna make him an offer he can't refuse.
With family, cannolis, and spins mean everything.
Now, you wanna get mixed up in the family business.
Introducing The Godfather at ChumbaCasino.com. Test your luck in the shadowy world of The Godfather slot.
Someday, I will call upon you to do a service for me.
Play The Godfather now at ChumbaCasino.com.
Welcome to the family.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18+. Terms and conditions apply.
Judy was boring.
Hello.
Then Judy discovered ChumbaCasino.com.
It's my little escape.
Now Judy's the life of the party.
Oh, baby, mama's bringing home the bacon.
Whoa, take it easy, Judy. The Chumba life is for everybody. So go to ChumbaCasino.com and play over 100 casino-style games. Join today and play for free for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+. Terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
Lucky Land Casino, asking people, what's the weirdest place you've gotten lucky?
Lucky? In line at the deli, I guess?
Aha, in my dentist's office. More than once, actually.
Do I have to say?
Yes, you do.
In the car before my kids' PTA meeting.
Really?
Yes.
Excuse me, what's the weirdest place you've gotten lucky?
I never win and tell.
Well, there you have it. You can get lucky anywhere, playing at LuckyLandSlots.com. Play for free right now. Are you feeling lucky? No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+. Terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
Donald, we're back from the break, and we're going to talk about specifically three guys who are playing in the NBA, Dukies, who are playing pretty darn well, whose teams look like they are on the cusp of making the NBA Finals and playing against each other for a title. As we record, the Boston Celtics are up 3-0. The Dallas Mavericks are also up 3-0, and it would appear that those two teams are about to advance on to the NBA Finals, and that's where we find our Dukies. It will not be news to anyone to know that Jason Tatum is the leading player on the Boston Celtics.
And first team All-NBA. So
yeah, first team All-NBA. Third year in a row, I believe it is for him. First team All-NBA. And it will not be news to anyone to hear that Kyrie Irving is the second best player on the Dallas Mavericks alongside Luka Doncic. There are people who are already starting to talk about, is the Kyrie and Luka backcourt, where do you put those in the pantheon of the all-time great NBA backcourts, which is pretty impressive. But then we also have to mention Derek Lively, who has just been crushing it. I mean, doing an incredible job off the bench for the Mavericks. And I almost think that Lively is like the better story. By the way, he got hurt in their last game, got a knee to the head by Karl Anthony Towns. And, we don't know what his status is going forward. But Derek Lively has led the Dallas Mavericks in these playoffs in plus minus. We always talk about plus minus as, that's a, small sample size kind of thing. Don't look at it from game to game. Well, if you're looking at it over the course of the entire playoffs, and he is far and away their plus minus leader. He's something like plus 107 or something like that when he's on the court. I mean, come on. Lively, I think, has been super impressive. He's been hitting like all his shots. Literally, in the Western Conference Finals, Derek Lively is 13 for 13 from the floor. He hasn't missed a single shot. And he's pulling down just tons of rebounds, double-digit rebounds in the first game, 9 rebounds in the second game, before he got hurt there in that third game. The thing I wanted to mention about Lively was this, Donald. So in game 2, which really was the backbreaker, Dallas was already up in Minnesota 1-0. Minnesota had to have game 2 at home. It just had to have it. There's like no question about it. And Dallas came back. Minnesota was ahead. Dallas came back, and Dallas had the ball down 2 with just a few seconds left on the clock. And look, that's a situation where a team is going to run a specific play. And their play that they ran was Lively to set a screen for Luka Doncic. And the reason I'm talking about Derek Lively is he did more than just go out there and put his body in the way and set a screen. There are all kinds of people who are really smart about basketball who watched this play and said that the way Derek Lively set the screen, the angle he used, the place he set it, the way he immediately released, he dragged Jaden McDaniels with him. Jaden McDaniels was one of the best defenders one of the best one-on-one defenders in the NBA. McDaniels is absolutely elite, and he is the guy that Minnesota has put on Luka Doncic in a desperate hope of stopping Luka, who is, top 2-3 players in the league right now. But Lively, just the way he set the screen, forced Jaden McDaniels to come with him and be pulled off of Luka Doncic. And as a result, Rudy Gobert, who is incredible in the paint and does not belong outside the paint on defense, got stuck trying to guard Luka Doncic. It was an ugly situation for Rudy Gobert. Dude literally looked like he was on skates. And everyone, fans out there are like, look at the shot that Luka made. Look at the move he put on Gobert. But smart basketball people, they're all saying, look at the screen that Derek Lively set. Rookie. How is a dude that advanced at his age, at his experience? It was not just an ordinary regular screen. And it's just part of, I think, Lively. People are just talking about Lively is like one of the huge keys for this Dallas team.
It's very funny that Derek Lively made that play and forced only one option for everyone in the gym to realize, oh no, Rudy Gobert, the defensive player of the year, mind you, was stuck having to go up against Luka Doncic in a battle that everyone knew that he was going to lose. Like that's ironic to me, right? Like we're talking about the defensive player of the year and that he was put on ice skates for that whole possession. And it started because, again, the execution from Derek Lively and Jason. Of course, my dad and brother live down in Dallas. I've been watching a lot of the Mavericks games all year and chatting with them about it. And down there, for a lot of people, Derek Lively, NBA, everyone talks about who's your big three guys. And for Dallas has always been big two since Kyrie arrived. It was Kyrie and Luka. And now people are thinking about Derek Lively as that third star that they have. And that's a very, very huge compliment for a rookie, but also for Dallas, right? Dallas does not take to rookies very quickly. They like to, even Luka struggled because they still had Dirk Nowitzki and a couple other guys there. But you have to realize that him coming on this year and how well he's played has endeared himself to a whole population of people who love them some Dallas Mavericks basketball. So I'm really looking forward to, once again, it's 3-0 for both of them. No team has ever come back from a 3-0 deficit in the NBA playoffs to win. So most people are expecting they still got to play the games, right? But should they both end up in the finals, that's going to be a hell of a finals between those two guys, Kyrie Irving and Derek Lively, and Jason Tatum, who is at the top of his game as well. It makes for a nice clash in the finals if those two teams end up making it. But it's been super fun to watch them play and super fun to watch them be as great as they have been during these postseason.
Yeah, the thing about Tatum is I've seen so many people criticizing him and saying that he hasn't been playing that well in the playoffs. He's been kind of up and down. I mean, look, he's been up and down as the best player on the best team in the Eastern Conference. So, it's a pretty relative up and down. But in his past couple series, he hasn't been quite as good as you might expect. Like the first round series against Miami, he only averaged 21.8 points per game. I mean, obviously 22 points per game is impressive.
Only, yeah,
only. But we're talking about Jason Tatum, who's usually a 27 point per game kind of scorer. He also didn't shoot that well in that series. He didn't shoot that well in the next series against Cleveland, although he scoring average game up close to 27 points per game. He's taken it up against the Pacers. 36, 23, and 36 points in the 3 games so far. Basically, he's only sitting for like 2, 3, 4 minutes at the most per game. He's in there with the ball in his hands almost the whole time. And I just wanted to note in this last game where they won at Indiana, a very close competitive game. Tatum had did you see the assist he had on the go-ahead basket?
Oh, yeah.
To Al Horford. Oh my God. Tatum goes in the lane. Everybody, the entire Indiana team like follows him because you'd be crazy not to. He threw a blind behind the back bounce pass to Al Horford. Al Horford, by the way, I think already had 6 3-pointers on the game at that point. He was raining from the outside. And Al Horford basically had enough time to, stick his finger in the air and check the wind before going ahead and shooting the go-ahead 3-pointer. It was a beautiful, really impressive assist by Jason Tatum. He had 8 assists in that game. Tatum, I hear these people who are like, oh, he's, he doesn't deserve first-team All-NBA. He only makes it because guys get injured and hurt, and, Joel Embiid wasn't qualified for it. Stop that. Just stop all of it. Jason Tatum is one of the 5 best players in the NBA, and I think, I'll go ahead and say it, I think Jason Tatum is about to win his first NBA championship.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. I can't root for the Celtics because the Detroit in me would not allow it. But I will say that it would be a very, very good series. I hope Jason Tatum does well. And I'm looking forward to just the 2 of them and just how I think the 2 teams, it's kind of a clash of who's good, right? Like there's not a lot of star versus star type of thing, except maybe Jaylen Brown and Luka Doncic or Kyrie Irving, whoever he's lined up against. There's going to be some forced matchups here, and that makes for some really good basketball for fans to watch. So I'm looking forward to it.
Donald, our final item is it's a sad note. It doesn't directly relate to Duke in any way, shape, or form. Doesn't relate to the ACC in any way, shape, or form. But it is this. It is that Bill Walton, to say legend isn't enough. To say one of a kind, like people throw around one of a kind. I'm sorry, Bill, you throw it around all you want. Bill Walton was one of a kind. Bill Walton has passed. And I will start by saying this. It is, I don't know if you want to say poetic or whatever. I mean, it's terrible that we've lost this man to cancer at the age of 71 with so much more life in him. But for it to happen on literally the day after the Pac-12 essentially died. Yesterday, the Pac-12 played their baseball championship game. It was the last championship, the last competitive game for the Pac-12. And for Bill Walton to go the very next day, he was always the biggest champion of the Conference of Champions. There is something, if you want to call it ironic, poetic, whatever it may be, about the Pac-12's demise coming the day before we lost the great Bill Walton.
Bill is, you mentioned the word legend, and it's ironic to say just that he was just a legend, because he was more than that. Not just in college. He was a legend in college. He was a legend in the pros. He's one of the NBA, 75. He was one of the NBA 50, right? Best 50 players that ever lived, best 75 players that ever lived when they name those teams. And then he was a legend as a broadcaster because he brought the game in only a way that Bill Walton could do it. He wore Hawaiian shirts when everyone was wearing suits. He commented on how guys were dressing when they entered the arena and how they played on the floor in a way that other people just didn't have the same perspective. And he did it with such a fun attitude about it, right? It was never, mean-spirited or demeaning. It just felt like Bill Walton was watching a different game than the rest of us, and we had to catch up, not the other way around. And so when you think about Bill Walton, you think about those things, those qualities. And he was at the tail end of his career as a basketball player when I was born, like the early the 80s when he was with the Celtics. Like that was the tail end of his career, and I saw maybe a few years of that. But mainly as a broadcaster, like man, he was the dominant force, and whenever late night. You had those games that are, on the West Coast at like 10:30 at like St. Mary's or something like that. And Bill Walton was on the call. Guess who was not getting sleep that night? None of us, because we were watching Bill Walton call that game. Bill Walton analyzed the game, again, in a fun way, but also where you learned every single time you listened to him. And I know he had called some Duke games. We were fortunate to have him on some broadcasts, but he didn't necessarily call all the Duke games, as you mentioned. But yeah, I think it is kind of poetic in a bad way, that the Pac-12 meets its end, and then Bill Walton says, I can't go another day without the Pac-12 in my life. So rest in peace to him, and to everybody who knew him and was able to call themselves a friend or family. Man, he was one of the best. One of the best.
So I know most folks listening to this remember Bill Walton almost exclusively from his career as a broadcaster. One of the just unique voices in broadcasting, not always talking about the game, just talking about whatever was coming into his mind. But man, I mean, Bill Walton just up there with the great color commentators of all time. But I want to educate everyone. I want to take you back to 1973. That is when UCLA played Memphis State for the basketball national championship. UCLA was a dynasty, but at halftime of that game, the score was 39-39. And people thought, oh, the dynasty, they've won 6 in a row, but UCLA is in real trouble here. And they went into that locker room and they came out and they decided they were going to do something different UCLA did in the second half. They were just going to feed Bill Walton, just nonstop. Just give the ball Bill Walton every single time and dare Memphis State to stop him. The game ended. Bill Walton had scored 44 points on 21 of 22 shooting. I want you to just think about how absurd that is. 21 of 22 shooting in the national championship game. 44 points, the most points ever scored in a national championship game. 21 field goals, the most field goals ever made in a national championship game. The field goal percentage, needless to say, highest ever of anyone who attempted at least 10 shots in a national championship game. I mean, that's outrageous. 21 of 22. That was Bill Walton. And, there may be some folks who are a little bit older who remember him on the Celtics. Maybe even when he was on Portland. He was NBA MVP one year when he was on the Portland Trailblazers. Hell of a player in the NBA, but I'm sorry. Greatest game of Bill Walton's career was for a ring for the 1973 national title. And the last thing I'll say about Bill Walton is this. Anyone who interviewed him, anyone who talked to him, anyone who asked him to reflect on his career, on his life, Bill Walton would always have one phrase that he would always say. He would say, "Thank you for my life." Today, all of us are saying thank you for Bill Walton and what he has left behind to all of us, which is a treasure trove of amazing, amazing memories. With that, we wrap it up here on the latest edition of DBR Bites. For Donald Wine, I am Jason Evans. Please make sure you send us emails, dbrpodcast@gmail.com. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We will be back in your feeds very, very soon. We promise. There will be more Duke news. There'll be more Duke analysis. We'll probably have some really special, interesting guests for you. Until then, here's the Duke Band to play us out and take us home.